The vast, shimmering spacecraft descended slowly through the thick, cloudy atmosphere, its sleek silver exterior reflecting the pale light of the setting sun. Inside the advanced alien vessel, the pilot, an imposing figure from a highly evolved race, gazed out at the strange, unfamiliar world below with a mix of curiosity and trepidation. This was not the intended destination. The pilot had been forcefully diverted from its original course, its ship crippled by a surprise attack. Now stranded on a remote backwater planet called Earth, the alien had no choice but to land and attempt to make repairs. As the spacecraft touched down on a deserted stretch of land, the pilot emerged cautiously, its towering form clad in a fluid metallic bodysuit that moved with a liquid grace. Thin tentacle-like appendages extended from its head, their sensitive tips probing the air for any signs of danger or hostile life forms. The alien's dark, intelligent eyes scanned the surrounding landscape, taking in the unfamiliar details, the towering, twisted trees, the strange and unsettling silence, the complete absence of any advanced technology or infrastructure. This was a world far removed from the gleaming spires and efficient, orderly cities of the alien's home planet. Activating a compact device on its wrist, the pilot began running diagnostics on the damaged ship, its fingers manipulating the controls with lightning speed. The news was not good. Several critical systems had been compromised, and it would take time and resources to effect the necessary repairs, resources that might be in short supply on this primitive, underdeveloped world. Letting out a soft, contemplative hum, the alien stepped away from the ship, its long strides covering ground effortlessly. It needed to gather information, to understand this strange new environment and its inhabitants, if it was to have any hope of escaping and returning home. As the alien moved through the dense, unfamiliar foliage, it became increasingly aware of the complete absence of any signs of sentient life. No structures, no vehicles, no technology, just the endless expanse of untamed wilderness. It was as if this planet had been utterly abandoned, left to the mercy of the elements and the creatures that roamed freely within it. The alien's focus was suddenly drawn to a faint sound in the distance, a high-pitched wail, the unmistakable cry of a distressed child. Without hesitation, the pilot changed course, its long legs propelling it swiftly through the undergrowth, guided by the increasingly desperate sounds. Emerging into a small clearing, the alien's eyes fell upon a sight that caused a surge of unexpected emotion to ripple through its usually stoic being. Curled up at the base of a towering tree, a small human child was huddled, tears streaming down its pale, frightened face. The alien paused, momentarily transfixed by the vulnerability and helplessness of the young creature. Cautiously, the pilot approached the sobbing child, its movements slow and deliberate, the intent to reassure and comfort rather than to alarm. As it drew closer, the girl's head snapped up, her wide, terrified eyes locking onto the alien's imposing form. She let out a startled cry, scrambling backwards in a futile attempt to escape. The alien raised one of its slender hands, the appendages splaying outward in a gesture of pacification. "Be still, child," it spoke, its voice a deep, resonant rumble that seemed to reverberate through the very air. "I mean you no harm." The girl's panic-stricken expression did not change, and she continued to cower, her small frame trembling. Undeterred, the alien slowly lowered itself to a kneeling position, bringing its towering height more in line with the child's eye level. "You are lost and afraid," the pilot observed, its tone gentle and measured. "I, too, am a stranger in this strange land, but I will not hurt you. I wish only to help." Sensing the alien's sincerity, the girl's tensed muscles gradually began to relax, though her fearful gaze never left the pilot's face. Encouraged, the alien extended one of its slender, tentacle-like appendages, the sensitive tip reaching out towards the child in a gesture of offering. "Come with me," the pilot said, its voice soft and soothing. "I will keep you safe until we can find your people." For a long moment, the girl stared at the alien's outstretched appendage, her expression a mixture of curiosity and trepidation. Then, slowly, tentatively, she reached out and placed her small hand in the alien's grasp. The pilot's features softened ever so slightly, a subtle shift in the alien's alien countenance that might have been interpreted as a faint smile. Gently, it wrapped its long fingers around the girl's hand, enveloping her delicate digits in its secure, protective hold. "There is nothing to fear," the alien reassured her. As it rose to its full height, the child's small form cradled against its side. "I will not abandon you." With the girl safely in its care, the pilot turned and began to make its way back towards the disabled spacecraft, its mind already racing with 1,000 questions and a growing determination to find a way off this primitive, inhospitable world. For now, its priority was the safety of the lost human child, a responsibility it had not anticipated, but one that would ultimately change the course of both their lives forever. The alien pilot moved swiftly through the dense, unfamiliar foliage, the small human girl cradled securely against its side. Its mind was racing, torn between the need to focus on repairing its damaged spacecraft and the growing sense of responsibility it felt towards the helpless child. This was not the alien's mission, to protect some fragile, primitive human. Its purpose was to return to its home planet, to report the events that had led to its unexpected detour to this backwater world. And yet, as the girl's terrified gaze met the alien's own dark, inscrutable eyes, a surge of an unfamiliar emotion stirred within the pilot's chest. Reaching the clearing where the disabled spacecraft had landed, the alien gently lowered the child to the ground, its slender fingers briefly brushing against her shoulder in a gesture of reassurance. "Wait here," it commanded, its deep, resonant voice tinged with an underlying note of authority. "I must see to the repairs of my ship." The girl nodded mutely, her small frame trembling slightly as the alien turned and strode towards the gleaming silver vessel. As the pilot began running a series of complex diagnostic tests, its mind wrestled with the dilemma it now faced. On one hand, the logical course of action would be to leave the human behind, to focus solely on the task of restoring its spacecraft to full functionality, and then departing this primitive world as swiftly as possible. The girl was, after all, a liability, a fragile, unpredictable creature that could potentially jeopardize the alien's chances of a successful escape. Yet, as the pilot's gaze drifted back towards the small, huddled form in the clearing, a strange and unwelcome sense of protectiveness stirred within it. The girl was alone, abandoned and afraid in this vast, untamed wilderness. Leaving her to fend for herself would be tantamount to condemning her to certain death. With a soft, contemplative hum, the alien turned its attention back to the task at hand, its long, nimble fingers manipulating the ship's controls with lightning efficiency. As it worked, its mind continued to wrestle with the dilemma, weighing the risks and the potential consequences of its actions. After what seemed like an eternity, the alien finally stepped away from the vessel, its expression unreadable. Striding back towards the girl, it knelt down once more, its towering form casting a long shadow over the child's small frame. "You must come with me," the pilot said, its voice firm yet tinged with an unfamiliar note of gentleness. "It is not safe for you to remain here alone." The girl's eyes widened in surprise, her features etched with a mixture of fear and uncertain hope. "Where are we going?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The alien's response was equally measured and direct. "I do not know," it admitted, "but I cannot leave you to the mercy of this harsh and unforgiving world." Reaching out, the pilot gently grasped the girl's small hand, its long fingers wrapping around her delicate digits with a surprising tenderness. "You will come with me," it reiterated, "and I will keep you safe, until we can find a way to return you to your people." The girl stared up at the alien, her expression a complex tapestry of emotions: fear, uncertainty, and a tentative, growing trust. Slowly, she nodded, her hand tightening its grip around the pilot's slender fingers. With a subtle shift in its alien features that might have been interpreted as a faint smile, the alien rose to its full height, the human child securely in its grasp. Turning back towards the damaged spacecraft, it began to make its way across the clearing, its long strides covering the ground with effortless grace. As they approached the gleaming silver vessel, the girl's eyes widened in awe, her small fingers reaching up to brush against the sleek metallic surface. The alien paused, watching the child's wonder with a mixture of curiosity and a growing sense of protectiveness. "This is my ship," the pilot explained, its deep voice rumbling with a hint of pride. "It is how I came to this world, and it will be our means of escape." The girl's gaze met the alien's, her expression filled with a newfound hope. "Escape," she echoed, her voice trembling slightly. "You mean we're going to leave this place?" The alien nodded, its grip on the girl's hand tightening ever so slightly. "Yes," it replied, its tone unwavering. "We will leave this world behind, and I will take you to safety." With those words, the pilot turned and led the girl up the ramp and into the interior of the spacecraft, the two unlikely companions embarking on a journey that would forever change the course of their lives. As the alien's sleek spacecraft lifted off the ground, the young human girl pressed her face against the curved, transparent viewport, her eyes wide with wonder and trepidation. The unfamiliar landscape of the primitive, underdeveloped world rapidly fell away, replaced by the vast, endless expanse of the night sky, dotted with twinkling stars. The alien pilot, its attention focused on the delicate task of navigating the damaged vessel, spared a glance towards the child, its dark, inscrutable eyes studying her reaction with a mixture of curiosity and concern. "You seem intrigued," the pilot observed, its deep, resonant voice cutting through the hum of the spacecraft's engines. The girl turned towards the alien, her small features etched with a mix of emotions. "I've never been this high up before," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's beautiful and scary." The alien nodded, understanding the child's conflicting feelings. "This is not your world," it said, its tone surprisingly gentle. The vastness of the cosmos can be both wondrous and daunting to those unaccustomed to its splendor. Reaching out, the pilot gestured towards the breathtaking expanse of stars visible through the viewport. "Out there, beyond the confines of your planet, there is a universe teeming with life, civilizations far more advanced than your own, each with their own unique cultures and technologies." The girl's eyes widened in fascination, her earlier fear momentarily forgotten. "You're from one of those other worlds, aren't you?" she asked, her small fingers tracing the contours of the spacecraft's interior with a sense of wonder. The alien inclined its head in a subtle nod. "I am," it confirmed, its gaze drifting back to the controls. "My people have traveled the stars for millennia, exploring the vastness of the cosmos and making contact with countless other species." "But how did you end up here?" the girl pressed, her curiosity piqued. "On my world, I mean." A faint flicker of something akin to regret passed across the alien's features. "That is a long and complicated story," it replied, its tone growing slightly more guarded. "Suffice to say, I did not intend to come to this place. My ship was damaged, and I was forced to land." The girl fell silent, sensing the alien's reluctance to delve deeper into the subject. Instead, she turned her attention back to the viewport, her small fingers pressed against the transparent surface as she watched the stars streak by. After a moment, the alien spoke again, its voice low and contemplative. "You are very different from my own kind," it said, its gaze studying the child's profile. "So fragile, yet so curious and resilient." The girl looked up at the alien, her expression open and unguarded. "What are your people like?" she asked, her voice tinged with a mixture of trepidation and genuine interest. The pilot's features softened ever so slightly, a subtle shift in its alien countenance that might have been interpreted as a faint smile. "We are a highly advanced race, with knowledge and technology far beyond what you can possibly imagine," it explained, its deep voice resonating with a hint of pride. We have mastered the secrets of interstellar travel, conquered the mysteries of the universe, and forged alliances with countless other civilizations. The girl's eyes widened in awe, her small fingers curling tightly around the edge of the viewport. "Wow," she breathed, her voice barely audible over the hum of the spacecraft's engines. "And you're going to take me to your home? To see all of those other worlds?" The alien's expression grew more pensive, its grip on the ship's controls tightening ever so slightly. I am not certain," it admitted, its tone tinged with a hint of uncertainty. "My primary objective is to return to my own world, to report what has happened and seek assistance in repairing my ship." The girl's face fell, her small features etched with disappointment. "Oh," she murmured, her gaze dropping to her lap. Sensing the child's shift in mood, the alien reached out, its slender fingers gently brushing against her arm in a gesture of reassurance. But it continued, its voice softening. "I have not forgotten my promise to keep you safe. I will not abandon you to the perils of this world. We will find a way to return you to your people, I swear it." The girl looked up, her eyes shining with a glimmer of hope. Slowly, she nodded, her small hand reaching out to grasp the alien's fingers. "Okay," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "I trust you." The alien's features shifted again, the subtle change in its expression perhaps the closest thing to a genuine smile that the girl had witnessed. With a gentle squeeze of the child's hand, the pilot turned its attention back to the controls, guiding the damaged spacecraft onwards, the two unlikely companions embarking on a journey that would test the limits of their newfound bond. As the alien's damaged spacecraft hurtled through the vast, inky expanse of space, the pilot's fingers danced across the ship's controls with a practiced, efficient grace. Its dark, inscrutable eyes were fixed ahead, scanning the star-studded horizon for any sign of a safe haven where the vessel could be repaired. Beside the alien, the young human girl sat in rapt silence, her small features etched with a mixture of wonder and trepidation. She had long since abandoned her attempts to engage the pilot in conversation, sensing the alien's growing preoccupation and the underlying tension that seemed to permeate the atmosphere of the craft. After what felt like an eternity, the pilot finally spoke, its deep, rumbling voice cutting through the hum of the engines. "We are nearing a system that may be able to provide the resources I need to repair the ship," it said, its gaze never leaving the controls. "However, I sense a disturbing presence there, one that I had not anticipated encountering." The girl's brow furrowed in confusion. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice tinged with concern. The alien's grip on the controls tightened slightly. "The signature I'm detecting. It is not of my own people," it replied, its tone darkening. "It is a presence that I had hoped to avoid at all costs." The girl's eyes widened, a growing sense of unease settling in the pit of her stomach. Is it dangerous?" she asked, her small fingers gripping the edge of her seat. The alien's features shifted, a faint flicker of something akin to worry passing across its alien countenance. "I do not know," it admitted, its voice low and contemplative. "But I cannot risk exposing you to potential harm. We must proceed with caution." As the spacecraft drew closer to the system, the girl could feel the tension in the air, the palpable sense of apprehension that radiated from the alien pilot. Whatever it was sensing, it was clearly something that deeply unsettled the advanced being. When the craft finally entered the system, the girl's breath caught in her throat. Looming before them, partially obscured by the glare of a nearby star, was a massive, imposing structure, a space station, far larger and more sophisticated than anything she had ever seen. The alien's eyes narrowed, its long fingers flying across the controls as it began to carefully maneuver the damaged ship towards the station's outer perimeter. "Stay close to me," it commanded, its voice low and urgent. "And do not wander off, no matter what you see or hear." The girl nodded, her small frame trembling slightly as she huddled closer to the alien's side. She could feel the tension radiating from the pilot, the unease palpable in the air. As the spacecraft drifted closer to the station, the girl's eyes widened in shock. Dozens of other vessels, both familiar and alien in design, were docked along the station's outer rings, their hulls gleaming in the starlight. "This is not merely a way station," the alien murmured, its gaze sweeping across the scene. "This is a nexus, a gathering place for those who traffic in secrets and exploit the weak." The girl's brow furrowed in confusion. "I don't understand," she whispered, her voice barely audible. The alien's features darkened, its grip on the controls tightening. "They have been waiting for me," it said, its tone grave. "And they have been waiting for you as well." Before the girl could respond, the spacecraft was hailed, a disembodied voice crackling over the communication channel. "Unidentified vessel, you are trespassing in a restricted system. Prepare to be boarded and your cargo inspected." The alien's eyes narrowed, its long fingers flying across the controls as it began to plot an evasive course. "Hold on," it said, its voice low and urgent. "This is about to become unpleasant." As the spacecraft broke away from the station, alarms blaring and weapons fire erupting all around them, the girl clutched the alien's arm, her heart pounding in her chest. Whatever was happening, she knew that they were now caught up in something far more dangerous than either of them had anticipated. And as the alien pilot pushed the damaged craft to its limits, the girl realized that their only hope of survival lay in the aliens' ability to outmaneuver their pursuers and uncover the truth behind this newfound threat. The damaged alien spacecraft rocketed through the void of space, weaving and dodging the barrage of energy blasts from its relentless pursuers. Inside the cramped cabin, the alien pilot's long fingers danced across the control panel, its dark eyes narrowed in fierce concentration. Beside the alien, the small human girl huddled in her seat, her face etched with a mixture of fear and determination. She had long since abandoned any notion of safety or escape, her trust in the alien's abilities now her only lifeline. "Where are we going?" the girl asked, her voice barely audible over the screech of the craft's strained engines. The alien's gaze remained fixed ahead, its expression unreadable. "To the heart of the enemy's stronghold," it replied, its deep, rumbling voice tinged with a hint of grim resolve. "That is the only way we can expose the truth and put an end to this nightmare." The girl's eyes widened, a shiver of dread running down her spine. "But won't that be even more dangerous?" she protested, her small fingers gripping the edge of her seat. The alien spared her a brief sidelong glance, its alien features softening ever so slightly. "It is a risk we must take," it said, its tone firm yet not unkind. "The lives of countless others depend on our success." Sensing the girl's growing trepidation, the alien reached out with one of its slender appendages, the sensitive tip gently brushing against her arm in a gesture of reassurance. "You have shown great courage in the face of adversity," it continued, its voice low and measured. "I know that you have the strength to see this through." The girl met the alien's unwavering gaze, a flicker of determination igniting in her eyes. Nodding resolutely, she squared her small shoulders, her expression hardening with resolve. As the spacecraft approached the towering, imposing structure that housed the enemy's stronghold, the alien's grip on the controls tightened. "Brace yourself," it warned, its voice barely above a whisper. "This is where the true battle begins." With a deft maneuver, the pilot guided the ship into a concealed docking bay, its landing almost seamless despite the vessel's damaged state. As the hatch hissed open, the alien emerged first, its slender form moving with a fluid feline grace. "Stay close to me," it commanded, its gaze sweeping the cavernous chamber for any signs of threats. "And do not stray, no matter what you see or hear." The girl nodded mutely, her small hand reaching out to grasp the alien's sleeve as she followed close behind. As they navigated the dimly lit corridors, the girl couldn't help but marvel at the sheer scale and sophistication of the enemy's stronghold, a far cry from the primitive world she had known. Suddenly, a commotion erupted ahead, the sound of raised voices and the pounding of boots echoing through the hallway. The alien's grip on the girl tightened, its stance shifting into a defensive posture. "They know we are here," it murmured, its tone grim. "Stay behind me." As a squad of armed guards rounded the corner, their weapons at the ready, the alien stepped forward, its slender appendages splaying outward in a gesture of defiance. "You will not stop us," it declared, its deep voice reverberating through the confined space. "The truth will be known, and your deception will be laid bare." The guards hesitated momentarily, their expressions betraying a hint of unease. But then, with a barked order, they opened fire, a volley of energy bolts streaking towards the alien and the girl. In a blur of motion, the alien's form blurred, its limbs moving with a speed and grace that defied the human eye. Each bolt was deflected or dodged, the alien's movements a flawless, deadly dance. As the guards fell, one by one, the girl watched in awe, her small frame trembling with a strange mix of fear and exhilaration. The alien's true power was a sight to behold, a testament to the vast gulf that separated its advanced capabilities from the primitive technology of the human world. With the last guard incapacitated, the alien turned its gaze towards the girl, its features softening ever so slightly. "Come," it said, its voice low and urgent. "There is still much to be done." Grasping the girl's hand, the alien set off down the corridor, their footsteps echoing with a renewed sense of purpose and determination. The final showdown was at hand, and with the human child by its side, the alien was more resolute than ever to uncover the truth and bring an end to the oppression that had brought them to this place. The alien and the young human girl raced through the dimly lit corridors of the enemy stronghold, their footsteps echoing against the sleek metallic walls. The girl's heart pounded in her chest, a mixture of fear and awe coursing through her veins as she struggled to keep up with the alien's effortless pace. Suddenly, the pilot came to a halt, its dark, inscrutable eyes scanning the area with a keen, analytical gaze. "We are close," it murmured, its deep voice barely above a whisper. "The heart of their deception lies just ahead." The girl followed the alien's gaze, her brow furrowing in confusion as she took in the massive, ornate doors that barred their path. "What's in there?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. The alien's features darkened, a flicker of something akin to anger passing across its alien countenance. "The answers we seek," it replied, its tone grim. "And the key to unraveling the conspiracy that has brought us to this place." Without another word, the alien stepped forward, its long, slender fingers reaching out to press against a concealed panel beside the doors. Instantly, the massive structures began to groan and slide open, revealing the cavernous chamber beyond. The girl's eyes widened as she caught a glimpse of the room's contents, a vast array of advanced technology, strange consoles and displays that seemed to pulse with an otherworldly energy. And at the center of it all, a raised dais, occupied by a group of figures, both human and alien, their features obscured by the flickering lights. As the girl and the alien stepped into the chamber, the occupants of the dais turned, their expressions a mix of surprise and barely concealed alarm. "You," one of the figures, a human, bellowed, his voice laced with a barely controlled rage. "How dare you intrude upon our sanctuary?" The alien's response was calm and measured, its deep voice cutting through the charged atmosphere. "Your sanctuary is built upon a foundation of lies and deception," it declared, its stance unwavering. "The time has come for the truth to be revealed." The human's lips curled into a sneer, his hand reaching for a weapon hidden within the folds of his robes. "Then you shall die, alien scum," he spat, "along with your pathetic human pet." In a flash, the chamber erupted into chaos, energy bolts and projectiles streaking through the air as the group on the dais opened fire. The alien's reflexes were lightning fast, its slender form blurring as it deftly dodged the incoming barrage, shielding the girl with its own body. But as the battle raged on, the alien's movements began to slow, its once effortless grace faltering. The girl could see the strain on its features, the subtle signs of exhaustion creeping in. Suddenly, a stray bolt struck the alien's shoulder, eliciting a sharp, guttural cry of pain. The girl watched in horror as the pilot's form wavered, its advanced bodysuit flickering and distorting, as if some invisible force was dampening its abilities. "What's happening?" the girl cried, her small hands reaching out to the alien in a desperate attempt to provide comfort. The alien's dark eyes met the girl's, a flicker of determination burning within their depths. They have been suppressing my true power," it gasped, its voice strained. But no more. Closing its eyes, the alien began to focus, its entire being radiating with a pulsing, otherworldly energy. Slowly, the distortion in its bodysuit began to fade, replaced by a shimmering metallic sheen that seemed to shift and flow like liquid mercury. As the girl watched in awe, the alien's movements transformed, becoming even more fluid and precise than before. With a series of lightning-fast strikes, it dispatched the remaining attackers, their weapons and technology seeming to crumble in the face of the pilot's newfound might. When the last of the figures had been incapacitated, the alien turned its gaze towards the girl, its features softened with a hint of pride. "You see now," it said, its deep voice resonating with a newfound power, "the true extent of my abilities. The ones who sought to exploit us have been thwarted, and the truth can finally be revealed." The girl stared up at the alien, her expression a mix of wonder and relief. "Then we can go home?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The alien's gaze drifted towards the dais, its features darkening once more. "Not yet," it replied, its tone grim. "There is still much work to be done." With a resolute nod, the alien turned and strode towards the center of the chamber, the girl close at its heels. The final confrontation was at hand, and with the alien's true power now unleashed, the odds of their success had never been higher. The air in the cavernous chamber crackled with tension as the alien strode towards the dais, the young human girl trailing close behind. The figures who had once occupied the raised platform now lay motionless, their advanced technology and weaponry rendered useless in the face of the alien's newfound power. As the pilot approached the dais, its dark, piercing gaze swept across the array of consoles and displays, its long, slender fingers deftly manipulating the controls. The girl watched in awe, her small features etched with a mixture of wonder and trepidation. "What are you doing?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The alien's gaze remained fixed on the task at hand, its expression unreadable. "Establishing a connection," it replied, its deep, resonant voice rumbling through the silence. "I must reach out to my people, to expose the truth of what has transpired here." The girl's brow furrowed in confusion. "Your people?" she echoed, her small fingers twisting nervously in the folds of her clothing. "But I thought you wanted to get back to your home planet." The alien's features softened ever so slightly, a flicker of understanding passing across its alien countenance. "That is still my ultimate goal," it said, its tone measured. "But first, I must ensure that the deception perpetrated by those who sought to exploit both our worlds is brought to light." As the alien's fingers danced across the controls, a vast, holographic display flickered to life, the shimmering image resolving into the form of an alien figure, its features alien and yet strangely familiar. "Greetings, my kin," the alien pilot spoke, its voice clear and commanding. "I come to you with grave news and a request for aid." The figure on the display blinked, its expression shifting from one of surprise to one of concern. "Pilot," it replied, its own voice a deep, resonant rumble. "We had lost all contact with you. What has happened?" The alien's gaze darkened, its grip on the console tightening. "I have been stranded on a primitive world, forced to witness the machinations of those who would abuse our advanced technology for their own gain," it explained, its tone laced with a tinge of anger. "They have been using my presence to further their agenda, subjugating the inhabitants of this planet and exploiting its resources." The figure on the display recoiled, its features etched with a mixture of shock and horror. "This cannot be," it murmured, its voice tinged with disbelief. "Our people have always been bound by the principles of non-interference. How could this have happened?" The alien's response was firm and unyielding. "Corruption and greed have taken root, my kin," it said, its deep voice resonating with a sense of urgency. "I require your assistance to put an end to this travesty and liberate both this world and our own from the clutches of those who would betray our values." The figure on the display nodded, its expression hardening with determination. "You have our full support, pilot," it declared. "We will mobilize our forces immediately and converge on your location. Together, we will reclaim what has been stolen from us." As the transmission ended, the alien turned towards the girl, its features softening with a hint of reassurance. "Help is on the way," it said, its deep voice tinged with a newfound sense of hope. "Soon, we will have the strength to confront our adversaries and set both our worlds free." The girl's eyes widened, a flicker of relief passing across her small features. "Then we'll be able to go home?" she asked, her voice trembling with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The alien's gaze drifted towards the dais, its expression growing more resolute. "Yes," it replied, its tone unwavering. "But first, we must ensure that the truth is known, and those responsible for this deception are brought to justice." With a decisive nod, the alien turned and strode towards the massive doors, the girl hurrying to keep up with its long, determined strides. As they stepped out into the dimly lit corridor, the sound of distant alarms and the pounding of boots echoed all around them. "They know we are coming," the alien said, its voice low and urgent. "We must move quickly before they can react." Grasping the girl's hand, the pilot broke into a sprint, its long legs carrying them swiftly through the maze of passageways. The final confrontation was at hand, and with the might of the alien's own people now on their side, the odds of their success had never been higher. As they raced towards the heart of the enemy's stronghold, the girl couldn't help but feel a surge of hope and determination. After all they had endured, the promise of freedom and the chance to return home was now within their grasp. The air crackled with tension as the alien and the young human girl raced through the corridors of the enemy's stronghold, their footsteps echoing against the sleek metallic walls. All around them, the sound of alarms blared, and the pounding of boots grew ever closer. Ahead, the massive doors that had once barred their path now lay open, a testament to the alien's newfound power and the arrival of its reinforcements. As they reached the threshold, the girl paused, her small frame trembling with a mixture of fear and awe. "What happens now?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The alien's gaze swept the chaotic scene, its features etched with a steely determination. "Now," it replied, its deep, resonant voice cutting through the din, "we take back what has been stolen from both our worlds." Without another word, the alien surged forward, the girl clinging to its side as they emerged into the cavernous chamber. The sight that greeted them was one of utter pandemonium. The figures who had once occupied the dais now scattered and scrambling, their advanced technology crumbling in the face of the alien's onslaught. From the corners of the room, a new wave of reinforcements arrived, their weapons blazing. But the alien's movements were a blur, its slender form weaving and dodging the incoming fire with a grace and precision that left the human girl in awe. As the battle raged on, the girl found herself swept up in the chaos, her small hands gripping the alien's sleeve as it shielded her from the barrage of energy bolts and projectiles. But despite the overwhelming odds, the pilot's resolve never wavered, its focus unwavering as it fought to liberate both this world and its own from the clutches of those who had betrayed them. Finally, with a deafening crash, the last of the enemy's defenses crumbled, leaving the chamber in an eerie, echoing silence. The girl slowly lifted her head, her wide eyes sweeping across the scene of destruction, taking in the fallen figures and the shattered remnants of their advanced technology. The alien, its metallic bodysuit shimmering with a faint glow, turned towards the girl, its dark, inscrutable eyes meeting her gaze. "It is done," it said, its voice tinged with a hint of weary triumph. The girl's small hand reached out, her trembling fingers brushing against the alien's sleeve. We did it," she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The alien's features softened ever so slightly, a subtle shift in its alien countenance that might have been interpreted as a faint smile. "Yes," it replied, its deep voice rumbling with a newfound sense of purpose. "The truth has been revealed, and the corruption that has plagued our worlds has been purged." The girl's expression brightened, a glimmer of hope kindling in her eyes. Then we can go home," she asked, her small frame practically vibrating with anticipation. The alien's gaze drifted towards the vast, star-filled expanse visible through the shattered windows, its features thoughtful. "In time," it said, its tone measured. "But first, there is much work to be done." Turning back to the girl, the alien's long, slender fingers reached out, gently brushing against her small hand. "I have made a promise to keep you safe," it said, its voice low and sincere. "And I intend to see that promise through, no matter what lies ahead." The girl's eyes widened, a flicker of uncertainty passing across her features. But what about my family?" she asked, her voice tinged with a hint of worry. "They must be so worried about me." The alien's expression softened, a subtle understanding passing across its alien countenance. "I have not forgotten them," it replied, its tone reassuring. "Once the immediate threat has been dealt with, we will find a way to reunite you with your loved ones. That I can promise you." Reaching out, the alien gently grasped the girl's small hand, giving it a gentle, reassuring squeeze. "For now, you are not alone," it said, its deep voice resonating with a newfound warmth. "We will face the challenges ahead together, and in doing so, forge a path towards a brighter future for both our worlds." The girl stared up at the alien, her small features etched with a mix of relief and cautious hope. Slowly, she nodded, her grip on the alien's hand tightening ever so slightly. As the two unlikely companions turned and made their way out of the shattered chamber, the girl couldn't help but feel a glimmer of optimism take root in her heart. Whatever lay ahead, she knew that with the alien by her side, she was no longer alone, and together they would build a new world, one where both their peoples could live in peace and prosperity.